Hi and welcome to Slick Willy Fly. Today what we're going to do is we're going to improve upon my spoon fly that I made. So in the vise I have a spoon fly that I made about a year ago. And I'll be honest with you, I have loved this spoon fly. It has worked great. I've caught a bunch of fish. But now that I've used it for a few fishing trips, I realize that it has some flaws that I can improve upon. And I have been improving. Here's a similar but improved blue. And this is an awesome fly. This thing is great. And here's a black and gold that's also improved. Now, one of the first improvements that you see probably right off is that the hook on my new version goes farther back. This version that I was tying originally, I think I was having a little bit of trouble getting hook sets because that placement of the hook I think was giving me trouble. So I moved the hook back, and now I've also made it more durable. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make another spoon, the new version, something more like this, and I'm going to do my very best to film this. This is like the way I have to work with my hands. It's going to be hard to film, but I'm going to figure out a way to explain what I do and to make this work. So what am I going to use? I'm going to use a 1/0 salmon hook. I have pre-cut using a new stamp from my good friends at C&R Metals in Miami. I've pre-cut a little piece of silicone that's going to be the actual spoon. And I cut it out of this 1mm sheet, which I have not around me, but I have it in gray, black, tan. I have a bunch of different colors. And, you know, it's up to you what color combinations you want to work with. On this particular fly, I used basically a reflective mirror sticker sheet that I trimmed to the right size. For the fly that I'm making now, I have switched to nail polish, and I find the nail polish to be super durable and really cheap. I buy these at the dollar store for about $1, and that's how I made this awesome color. These are metallic, reflective, you know, I mean, there's endless colors in nail polish. I'm going to use a little bit of Loon soft head. I'm going to use some super glue. I'm going to use a little piece of medium wire that's going to make this way tougher. And Sally Hanssen's hard as nails to finish it off. So I guess I'm going to have another sip of my cocktail. And I'm going to change the camera angle. And so I'm going to do my very best to show you step by step how I make the fly. So go ahead and hit the like and subscribe. And let's tie a fly. Okay, let's pop this hook in the vise. You know, this isn't like a traditional fly. I get that this is a little different, and I also get that some very traditional fly fishermen are probably gonna not see this as a fly, but you know, I think that a spoon fly has a place. And man, did this thing get bites. I was using this in Sweden, and I caught a bunch of perch and a bunch of pike, and that's how I discovered that it needs to get tougher. So step one, here I have my stamped out silicone wing. The first thing that I'm learned to do, I made this a little bit longer than I used to, and I'm going to just go ahead and tie it in from the front. And one thing I forgot to mention, I took a little bit of sandpaper and I just scuffed these up a little, which makes it just a little bit easier to apply the finishes. So just a couple of loose wraps, making sure that this is sitting right where I want it. And now I'm just going to crank that down hard. I'm going to fold it over, and now I have a much tougher front end. You can use any color thread that you like, and it just does the trick. And now I'm going to give this a whip finish. I will apply thread again later if I want to put a weed guard on, just for a couple other things later on. But just to make my life easier for the next few steps, I don't need thread. So I just give that a little whip finish. Gotta tighten my vise. And now I could cut off the thread anyway. Alright. So this is one of the parts of the video that are going to be very difficult to explain. So what I'm going to do, basically, I'm going to weave and thread a little bit of this wire onto my fly. So my wire is hard enough that I could poke it through, just like that. And I've centered, I could see that I've pretty much centered the silicone on the hook. And I'm going to poke it through again. It's going to be a little bit difficult to show everything that I do, but I'm going to do my best to show it anyway. Alright, that's through. So now we feed it through. And now what I've got is a little bit more secured on the body. So now I'm just going to basically make an X. It's hard to show you, but I'm going to make an X. I'm going to crisscross that, and I'm going to go back through, back to the top, a little bit farther up the hook shank. That one's through. Now I obviously flip sides on the shank of the hook, which makes it lock in a little bit better. You're probably wondering why I don't use a little bit heavier wire. I did, and of course it was easier to punch it through, but then it made the fly too heavy. So there's a balance here between, you know, how heavy you want to make this fly and the wire that you're going to use. Alright, so that's through. So now I'm going to pull everything tight. I'm going to go ahead and cross those over one last time, and I'm actually going to punch them through one last time. This time I'm going to go a little bit farther towards the head of the fly. This would be way simpler if I wasn't in the vise. Alright, that one's through. One more time. Hopefully this won't fight me too hard. And it's through. Nice. Okay, so now that everything is through and I'm going to pull them tight, all I'm going to do is bring them up, and this is when I need to put my thread back on. Cut off my tag. I'm going to bring this wire up. A lot of times I give this a couple of twists just to make it tight, easy for me. Just like that. A couple of loose wraps. Hope you can see this. Hope it's all in focus. A lot of times when I use my hands too much, stuff gets out of focus. But anyway, so now I'm going to flip these over just to lock them in and really give them a couple of wraps. And now it's a whip finish. Again, you can use any color thread you want, and you can really get creative with colors. Alright, so now I'm just going to take these little tags one at a time and just helicopter them off. One, and there's the other. This one is probably too short to do that helicopter. Okay. Alright, so now I need to probably pause the video. So what I'm going to... Alright, so I get that this is going to be a little bit difficult to see, and I'm going to do my best to explain. So the next step is I just place this in my little homemade cork, and it takes that perfect little shape that you see there. And the only thing I'm going to do is give this a nice generous coat of super glue. And now, all I'm going to do now is I'm going to walk away and I'm going to let that cure for a good 20 minutes. And then when we come back after those 20 minutes, I'm going to give this a good coat of this Loon soft head. And when we do the Loon, we're probably going to let this sit overnight. I'll probably finish the fly tomorrow. I think I've been timed for maybe 10 minutes. It just has to cure. The only thing left to do after the Loon cures is to apply whatever finish we want. I think I'm going to go with gold on this one. And then once the nail polish is hard, I usually do a second coat of nail polish. And once that is hard, that takes, I don't know, 20 minutes to get hard. Then I put on a coat of hard as nails and the fly is ready to fish. So thanks for watching. We'll call this part 1, and in a little while we'll come back and do part 2, which is the Loon soft head, and then tomorrow we'll do part 3 and we'll finish the fly. So don't forget to hit the like and subscribe and stay tuned. Alright, so welcome back. So phase 1 complete. Now a very simple but very important stage. I like this Loon soft head. It's really good for this application. And what's really important is that when we apply this, I'm gonna get a needle. It's really important that, of course, that we cover well the hook shank, but that we also paint up the edges, because that's gonna give this fly that curved look that we're going for. That curve right there. You know, one thing that's, I guess, important to say, you know, it's impossible for me to make every single one of these spoon flies identical. Each one is going to have a little bit of a unique curvature. I do my best to make them similar, but it's just impossible to be that precise for me here in my home. So I'm just painting using the applicator that comes with the Loon soft head. Carefully, just gonna go all the way around and paint the surface really well. And I'm gonna make sure that, especially in the hook shank area, that I'm really coated. Now this Loon, it dries to the touch fairly quick. But to really dry takes probably the whole evening. So I'm just gonna let this sit I'm in no rush, and tomorrow afternoon or tomorrow evening when I have a few minutes, we will finish the fly. We'll put on the nail polish, and the fly will be done. So thank you for watching. Hope you're having a cocktail with me, and stay tuned for part 3. Hi, and welcome back to Slick Willy Fly, and now we're going to finish up the spoon. So this is going to be part 3 in our series, and so this cured all day. It really, this morning when I got up, I looked at it, it was fine. It doesn't take 24 hours, but I went to work and now I'm home. I don't know if you could see that very clear. I hope you can. But the soft head, the Loon soft head, it dries completely clear. So that's another plus feature. So, part 3. Part 3 is the nail polish. And all I'm going to do is go ahead and put some nail polish on and end the video. I end up waiting 20-30 minutes and putting a second coat on. And then 20-30 minutes later, I put a coat of hardest nails just to make it bulletproof. And there's really nothing to this. I'm using this gold flake nail polish. Not a big mystery here. You just paint it on. This particular nail polish it's a mix of clear nail polish with gold flakes. And that's why I chose the white silicone, because I thought it would just look good. In other flies, or other spoon flies I should say, I used a black silicone, and it looks great, but it's a little dark, so I like to have a blend. So there's the bottom. Now I'm going to do the same thing on the top half. And I don't need to get crazy because I'm going to put a second coat on. One thing we didn't talk about was how I fished this. I actually have done it 2 different ways. I've used a split ring with a swivel, and that works. And I've also used just a straight snap swivel that I attached to my 2X leader. And I find that I think I prefer the straight snap swivel. It's all about weight, and it's all about how fast you want your spoon to sink. And that will determine what's best for you. So there it is. There's a coat. I could show you here what I mean. Here's a black silicone. And then I use the exact same polish, and you see how much the black actually shines through. And now we have a white silicone and the gold flakes. And I'm going to put another coat on so it'll be more gold, but the white will show through. So I just wanted to have a couple of different variations is all I wanted. And here's the split ring with the ball bearing that we were talking about. Nothing too fancy there. Pretty self-explanatory. I find that I prefer going snap swivel, ball bearing snap swivel straight to the spoon, and avoid this little rig here. I think that this was I don't know. I just prefer the other one, but both are valid options and both can work for you. So I hope you enjoyed this. The big takeaway, the biggest takeaway I think is going to be a big plus, is the location of the hook relative to the end of the spoon. I think that this is going to be a huge improvement with my hookup ratios. So thanks again for watching. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe, and good luck catching.